Hey YouTube. So I just wanted to give you some comments of what I think about the new Glock 44. Now I followed the hype and all the promotion and also I read pretty much everything I could about what it could be. The days leading up to the announcement as of yesterday. And so I waited about 24 hours before doing this video after the actual official announcement, just so I can gather my thoughts. But yeah, there was a lot of speculation about what the Glock 44 or even what Glock was doing to begin with could be. And for the most part, like 99% of people were wrong, which is pretty common in these forums. Of course, a lot of the people were being kind of silly and fun about this, and that was good. I mean, I enjoyed the whole process of this to some degree. I like, when there's a new product announced and people kind of make it a fun adventure. And I will say that I was a bit let down, but at the same time, it was kind of a little bit unexpected of what it really was. But toward the end there, the last couple of days, I kind of suspected heavily that it was a 22 pistol. It's just that I didn't really know for sure. And I thought maybe that could have been a 22 carbine too. I was kind of on the fence between the two. But let's just jump into the Glock 44 and just talk about it for a few minutes. So what we have here is a Glock 19 size 22 long rifle, handgun here. And it has the interchangeable back straps, and just like the G19, and it uses the same holsters. So, if you already have a Glock 19, you don't have to run out and buy any extra holsters. Basically, what they're saying here is that it's supposed to start to hit dealer shelves around January the 20th. But I would probably just give that a few extra weeks because, things happen. And so I would say that somewhere between mid to later first quarter, you would pretty much be guaranteed to have one if you want one. It uses a hybrid steel and polymer slide. And this is kind of what is supposed to be so innovative. And it is to some degree, but they're calling it legendary. I think it's kind of funny. I don't think it's legendary at all. I think it's just, slightly innovative. Some people say that Glock isn't innovative at all. I disagree with that. I mean, look at their market share. Look at, all their different types of products. I don't think that they don't innovate. I think they just kind of stay within a very tight realm of innovation. They kind of just stick with handguns mainly. When it comes here to the ammo, because that was kind of what I wanted to hear about. And I'll get into this maybe a little bit more in detail later on about the press release, but they talk about this being able to run pretty much any 22 ammo. And there was only, at the time of this filming, there was only like one video showing this gun being fired, like actually being tested at the actual Glock headquarters, if you will, at their range. And it was cycling apparently all different types of ammo. And if that's true, then that's very good. That's very good. I mean, I want it to run bulk pack ammo. And I don't want it just to have to be like hyper velocity or high velocity or even standard velocity. I mean, I even want subsonic ammo to work. And it's supposed to do most of that. It actually includes the Glock marksman barrel. Some people think that's just all hype and it doesn't really increase accuracy, but it does come with that. It has an adjustable rear sight. And from what I understand, it's not only just for windage, but also elevation, that rear sight. So it's pretty cool. You can get it in the standard polymer sights. And if you don't like the polymer sights, you can get it in a steel sights. And if you don't like that, you can get it also in night sights. And of course, I'm pretty sure you could probably put whatever aftermarkets that are available for the Glock 19 on there as well, if you want it like a Mariglow or whatever. It comes with two, what they call load assist 10-round magazines. They look to be made of polymer. They might have like a stainless steel, inner material, like, inner wall, but I didn't really see that. I think they possibly are polymer through and through, but I'm not for sure about that. And I'll talk more about that in a moment, but what I think about 10-round capacity. But it does come with two magazines. Without the magazine, the gun weighs a very lightweight 12.63 ounces. That's pretty cool, actually. I like that. So you could definitely use this as a pack gun and so forth. I'll get into all the different uses in a moment as well. With a mag, they're saying that it weighs 14.64 ounces and loaded. Of course, it just depends on what kind of ammo, but I guess this is just averaged out between various ammunition. But loaded up is supposed to be 16.4 ounces. So basically loaded, it's around a pound. It's about a pound. And so you can get a threaded barrel, but it's an optional upgrade. You have to buy the separate barrel. I don't like that at all. And this is the reason why in particular, because the MSRP, now this is kind of confusing because depending on where you go, you get different MSRPs, but it's pretty close. So it's not the biggest deal, but sites are reporting the MSRP, about $430. There's a couple of sites that do say $439. But so basically between $430 to $439, what is being reported, maybe they're still working that detail out. And so, I mean, it's not tremendous, but it's not really high value. And the best estimate among the top reviewers at this moment about what the street price would be, and also my own consensus of, how, their various firearm prices, work out from MSRP, that the street price will probably be somewhere between $350 to $400. Now let's talk about purpose. But before I really get into that, I just want to, once again, just recap about this whole price thing and just say that I don't think, once again, it's really the best value out there. You can get a lot of other things. I mean, look at the Taurus TX22. I'm not so sure if I can even really compare that gun with this gun, but I'm going to just do that for a moment. You get a lot higher capacity, 16+1 versus a 10+1. It's, even up until just recently, there was a rebate that you get it for $199. So it's a bit of a problem. I think Glock is not only kind of a little bit late to the show, if not a lot late to the show here. They're just really not being very competitive. Now, in terms of purpose, I mean, if you're a new shooter or a young shooter or a recoil sensitive shooter, especially when we're talking about recreation or target practice or even really very small game hunting, I don't see a problem with this. I mean, if you don't mind the price and, if you don't mind not having a threaded barrel, that comes standard, or if you don't mind buying a threaded barrel, if you want that to run a sound suppressor, then it might be good for you. And there's a very small group of people that do use 22 long rifle for self-defense. I don't personally recommend that or suggest that or anything like that. I tell them, just get a 380 if you're that sensitive. But a 380 ACP, though, for some people, it's just, for whatever reason, not desirable. They just stick with 22. And so maybe for some people in a limited capacity, you could use it for self-defense if that's all you had or that's what you wanted to use. But once again, I don't recommend that. Now, let's just talk about this 10-round magazine. Now, it comes with two of them. I kind of wish that it came with 3 mags, to be honest with you. I don't know why they have to just put 2, but they did that. And, we're talking about there's the space in the grip has enough room for, easily 15 rounds of 9mm. And we know how inefficient Glock magazines are in terms of space. They have a steel bodied with a polymer overlay or overmode or whatever, And so you could probably easily get around 20 rounds of 9mm in there if you made a more efficient magazine. And so, I mean, just look at what they're doing right now. with the Glock 43X and the 48. There's already aftermarket mags right now out that can hold 15 rounds, and factory it's 10 rounds. So that's a 50% improvement just because they're not using the polymer on the mags. So it makes you kind of wonder, like, how many 22 long rifle rounds could really be put in there if they actually made, efficient designs for this Glock 44. I mean, it makes you wonder. I would theorize at least 20 rounds. I mean, at least, probably more like 25. But let's just go with 20. Why are they issuing 10 round magazines? I think it's just their first release. I do have a feeling that they're going to have to probably issue something else out down the road. In fact, there's actually a pretty solid rumor, and this is not official rumor, but there's a big rumor that they are trying to make, or they're in the process of making 15 round magazines. I mean, I haven't, gotten any more information about that, but true. But even then, 15 round magazines is kind of low for what you could put into that space. But yeah, I think it's for legal reasons, so they can sell to more states and they don't have to have multiple versions or models of this handgun, is what I'm thinking. But a 10 round magazine is really weak, and that was extremely disappointing. And I know for a lot of people, it was a major turnoff. In fact, it was such a big turnoff that it was like half of the comments that I read, the people complaining said that they're not going to buy it just because of that alone, that and the price. So, I mean, they could easily have probably doubled the capacity, but they didn't, and therefore they're not going to get the business probably. With that being said, there's going to probably be plenty of people who would want this gun and try to pick it up as soon as possible. So it's not that I'm saying that they won't sell, a lot of these guns. I'm sure it's a really good gun. But they need to kind of like offer some various packages or give people some options here. 10 round magazines is really outdated, and it's just ridiculous for the space that's available in that grip. Let's just kind of talk more specifically about the price here. A street price of $350 to $400 range. I mean, you can get a lot for that these days. You really can. And like, for example, we just talked about the Taurus TX22, it was just recently at $199 after rebate. I mean, you could get two of those for this price of one of these Glock 44s. I mean, so there's a lot of value there. And the TX22 just eats about everything. I mean, it's not picky at all. It's a machine. And so I think that what you're really paying for here, once again, is the Glock brand, that name, and the so-called new innovation, which the more that you really sit down and think about it, is this slide so innovative, this hybrid steel and polymer slide? Well, maybe. I mean, it's not like you see them all over the place or anything. But all we're talking about is a different way of going about weight reduction on that slide so they can cycle more efficiently and effectively. And so with that being said, I mean, it's a little hard to get excited the more you think about it. That's just maybe me, but I think it's the fact. There's a lot of people, including myself, that say, what about a different platform? Instead of using a Glock 19 platform to build this on, what about the Glock 43X or the Glock 48? The Glock 48 was really like the number one that people talked about. They're like, this should have not been, used on a Glock 19. A Glock 48 would have been more appropriate and all this. I don't know. I kind of agree on certain levels, but if you're wanting maximum potential for capacity, at least down the road, even if it's going to be aftermarket, I would kind of prefer the Glock 19 platform. But if you're not worried about so much capacity, but even with like a Glock 48, you could probably easily get at least 15 or more rounds of 22 long rifle. So it is what it is. And it's just kind of how some of these releases go. A lot of people aren't going to get, in fact, probably the majority aren't going to get what they really want or what they're asking for. And people are saying, well, Glock is trying to listen and all this. I don't really know if they are. I'm just going to be straight with you. I don't know if they are listening, because let me tell you, for years and years now. People have been asking for a carbine or a 1911 style Glock or a whole line of Glock revolvers. I mean, I don't know about all the AR-15 and the shotgun, request. I don't know how realistic that is, but let's just say that the people have spoken. And I honestly cannot remember more than maybe a handful of requests on any forums over the past 10, 15 years that people have been asking for a dedicated Glock handgun in 22 LR. And if anything, people are just asking for a conversion kit from a factory, a factory conversion kit so they can just put it on their 19. They just wanted to buy the slide. But I think what's going on here is that Glock doesn't want to start to sell conversion kits. They can make more money if they just sold the whole gun. And so that's what they've done. I kind of don't blame them, but once again, it is what it is. Now, for me, for the price of possibly around $400, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's a lot of good value. But I did put it on my wish list just in case if I just happen to have the resources and it comes available. And I don't know. It's just kind of a big up in the air right now. I'm kind of 50-50 on it. And I wouldn't be so 50-50 if it came out with 15, 20 round magazines and gave you 3 mags instead of 2. I kind of would be a little bit better about it. And also, I kind of feel like, this whole stock polymer sight thing. I like that, the rear sight is adjustable, 2-way adjustable for elevation and windage. But what about the front, post? Why not have fiber optics? I mean, I would love to see fiber optics on this. And I want to close talking about the press release. Now, I was one of the people that watched it live streamed from Austria, I believe. And I watched it, and the press release was kind of odd. It looked like everybody memorized their lines. Everybody looked really stressed out. Well, not everyone, but at least half of the panel looked stressed out. Presentation was a bit forced. And honestly, they didn't really reveal a lot of details. They spoke a little bit here or there, but they didn't really have the gun in their hand and talk about it and go into detail about anything in particular. And it was a little disappointing. I don't know. Maybe they were waiting for the reviewers to do the in-depth reviews, but it just seemed like it was a bit hyped. And I would have to say the vast majority of Glock fans appeared to be quite let down. They actually had a chat screen in real time when they were doing this, and I was reading it, and people were just pissed. They were like, "This is not what I want. I'm not going to buy this." And of course, in reality, it will probably sell pretty well, but I don't think it's going to sell as well as it could just because of the price and the features or the lack thereof features. And so I think in the modern day, you're going to have to do better than 10-round magazines for those who live in a free state. You're going to have to include standard, a threaded barrel. People are going to want a better trigger than just a stock trigger of 5.5, 6 pounds. Let's just be honest. Glock triggers, they're not that great. I mean, they're okay, but it's not precision. And that's kind of what you'd want, right? If you're doing a lot of target practice. And then, of course, those sights. Let's upgrade maybe at least to that front post to a fiber optic. And I think that's a good start, Maybe there's other things that we can do down the road, but that's a very good start. And so I think that, to some degree, Glock has a hit here, but they also have a miss at the same time. It's just they haven't really got this figured out. And you would kind of think in the American market that they would expect certain things, because the precedent has been set by a while back. And so if you have Taurus, if you have Ruger, if you have Smith & Wesson and others that have been dominating the market and they have the standard, you're going to have to provide more than what they have, not less. And at the same price point or even better to really secure your grips in that market. But they have not done that. So this may be one of the least popular models that Glock sells, possibly. Maybe I'm wrong. That's just a theory until they get some of this worked out. I just want to thank you for checking this video out. Hope you enjoyed it. You guys take care. We'll catch you later.